Have you ever been so tired of being perfect, you forgot how to breathe? That was me, Anastasia Leclerc, former ballet prodigy, the girl who used to wake at 4:30 a.m. to stretch her spine into the shape of someone else's dreams. The girl who smiled through interviews, who landed every pirouette and lost pieces of herself each time. Until I didn't. Until the day I stood on stage and forgot the choreography, my lungs collapsing somewhere between the spotlight and the silence. So I vanished. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Thanks so much for watching. My parents called it a sabbatical, like I was a professor and not a girl unspooling at the seams. I ended up here, edge of the map, Maine, a beach town so small it didn't have streetlights, just stars and gossip. I moved in with my grandmother, who wore thick glasses and made grilled cheese like it was a religious act. Her house smelled like old wood and rosemary. She didn't ask questions, just poured tea and said, "The ocean has a way of sorting things out," which is cute in theory. In practice, it mostly just made my hair frizz. Most days I ran. Not far, not fast, just enough to pretend I was getting somewhere. My sneakers sank into wet sand, my playlist full of sad songs pretending to be upbeat. I timed my run to end by the lifeguard stand. Not on purpose, obviously, not because she was there. Kat Ellis, brown hair, half bleached by the sun, wore the red tank top uniform like a dare. Every time I passed, she didn't look up, but I felt her, sitting on that tower like Poseidon's favorite disappointment, sunglasses tilted down just enough to make you wonder what color her eyes were. I wanted to ask. I never did. We didn't speak until the day I nearly drowned, which is ironic considering how determined I was to keep everything on the surface. It was late afternoon. A storm was on the edge of the sky, soft thunder, gulls flying lower than usual. I should have turned back, but I kept swimming. I wanted silence, and the deeper water had it. I didn't realize how far I'd gone until the tide shifted. The shore looked farther away than it had any right to be. My limbs were tired. My breath was wrong. Not panic yet, just the early edge of it. Then I heard the whistle. And then I saw her. Kat crashed through the surf like a fury, reached me in 3 long strokes, grabbed me under the arms like I weighed nothing. She towed me back without saying a word, salt in her mouth, fire in her eyes. When we hit the shore, she dropped me on the sand like luggage and shouted, "Are you out of your goddamn mind?" Her voice wasn't soft. It wasn't poetic. It was alive. "You were past the markers. There's an undertow warning. Do you have a death wish or just a trust fund?" I opened my mouth to speak. Nothing came out but seawater and shame. She squatted next to me, not concerned, just furious. "Next time you want to float away, maybe don't make it my responsibility to drag you back." She stood and walked away, didn't look back. The next day, I sat by the lifeguard tower and waited. I didn't know what I was waiting for. Forgiveness? Permission? Another lecture? She noticed me immediately but said nothing. 30 minutes passed, then an hour. Finally, she climbed down, unwrapped a popsicle, and said, "You're not from here." Summer visit. To run from something or toward it? I blinked. Does it matter? Only if you're planning to swim again. We sat in silence, the sound of waves filling the space like music. She leaned back against the tower, sunglasses sliding into her hair. "I'm Kat," she said finally. "Short for Catherine, but I don't answer to that unless I'm in trouble." "I'm Anastasia." She squinted. "That's a lot of name." "I've been told." She nodded once. "You're a dancer." My spine stiffened. "I was." "Still are," she said. "You move like you're always counting steps." I didn't reply. I didn't have to. She wasn't asking. We kept crossing paths. She was always at the beach. I was always pretending not to plan my walks around her schedule. We spoke in pieces, snippets of conversation like mismatched puzzle pieces from different boxes. She told me about swimming, about college, about quitting when the pressure outweighed the water. I told her about the academy, about the fall, about nothing really. I was good at that. Sometimes she'd toss me a spare popsicle. Other times we just sat, saying nothing, letting the ocean do the talking. One night, I found her on the dock, feet dangling over the water, an old portable speaker humming something slow and gravelly. "You're not working," I said. She glanced at me. "Storm warning. Beaches close. I come here when I can't sleep." "You don't seem like someone who sleeps much." "I don't." She patted the spot next to her. I sat. She didn't ask what I was doing there. She didn't tease me for being in my grandmother's too big sweater or for carrying a book I had no intention of reading. She just said, "I saw you dancing." I swallowed. I was just in the parking lot, last night. You had headphones in. You didn't know anyone was watching. I went still. "You looked free," she said, "and sad, but mostly free." I turned my face away toward the water. That's the only time I ever feel like myself, when I'm moving. Kat reached over and gently tapped her foot against mine. A small thing. A human thing. "I get it," she said. "That's what swimming used to be for me." I looked at her. Her face in the moonlight was softer, less guarded, like something had cracked open and decided not to close. We sat there until the wind picked up and the dock creaked beneath us. "I should go," I whispered. She didn't try to stop me, but she also didn't look away when I did. Kat didn't come to the beach the next day. Or the next. I told myself it didn't matter. I wasn't waiting for her. I wasn't timing my walks. I wasn't checking the lifeguard tower like a teenager with a crush and a playlist full of sad girl indie. Lies. All of it. I went to the dock, twice. Once during the day. She wasn't there. Once at night, still nothing but splintered wood and my own echo. I hadn't realized how much of my summer had started to orbit her until she disappeared. That's the thing about someone who understands your silence. When they're gone, it's deafening. 3 days later, I found her behind the community center, sitting on a picnic table, knees pulled up to her chest, biting the end of a marker. She was sketching on a torn napkin. Waves, bones, wings, I couldn't tell which. "You're alive," I said, pretending my voice wasn't hopeful. She didn't look up. "Barely." "Do I get to ask?" "Not unless you want a non-answer." I sat down beside her anyway, close but not too close. Kat had invisible lines, and I hadn't earned enough honesty to cross them. My grandmother keeps asking about my mysterious friend with the scowl. Kat huffed a soft laugh. "I'm flattered." "Don't be. She thinks you're part of a biker gang." She finally looked at me. "I do own a leather jacket." We sat in the shade, watching a squirrel dig for something that probably didn't exist. The napkin in Kat's hand fluttered in the breeze like it wanted to escape too. Then she said, "My mom called." Ah, there it was. I didn't ask what she said. I didn't have to. I'd seen that look before, in the mirror mostly. When the world expects you to be something you're not, and you can't decide if you're angry or exhausted. She wants me to come home, finish school, be normal again. She drew the word like a wound. As if I ever was. "What did you say?" "That I'd think about it." "Are you going to?" She shook her head slowly. "I don't think I remember how to be that person." Later that week, I passed her on the pier. She was standing with her back to the town, wind whipping her hair around like it was mad at her. She looked like she might jump, not because she wanted to die, but because she didn't want to stay still. When she noticed me, she raised an eyebrow. "Nice sweater," she said. "You steal that from your grandmother too?" Actually, it's vintage and overpriced. I stole it from myself. Kat leaned on the railing. You ever wonder who you'd be if nobody was watching? Every day. She turned her head. So who are you? It took me a second to answer. Right now? Right now. I'm a girl pretending not to fall apart. She nodded. Same. That night I danced. Not on a stage, not in front of anyone. Just barefoot on the dock, under a sky so wide it made me feel like I could disappear into it. I didn't hear her arrive. She moved like moonlight, quiet, unexpected. I thought dancers needed music, she said. I thought lifeguards had curfews, Kat stepped forward. You always this graceful when you think no one's watching, I stopped. You are watching. She didn't answer. Instead, she held out a hand. Dance with me, I blinked. You don't dance. You don't swim in storms. We're evolving. So I took her hand, and in the middle of a creaking dock, under a sky full of stars that didn't care about either of us, we swayed to music that wasn't there. Afterward, we sat side by side, our legs dangling over the edge, fingers brushing but not quite touching. I was training for the Olympics, Kat said, voice low. Swimming, I mean. I had the times, the coach, the pressure. What happened? I stopped breathing. I looked at her. I had a panic attack at regionals. Couldn't even get in the water. My mom told the press I was resting an injury. I guess being broken doesn't photograph well. I didn't know what to say, so I just listened. I came here because this place is quiet, she continued. I thought maybe I could hear myself again. And Kat turned to me. Then you showed up, jogging with your perfect posture and your haunted eyes. Sorry to ruin your silence, she smiled. You didn't, you just made it different. We sat there for a while, the kind of stillness that makes you forget time exists. Kat fiddled with the pen again, then plucked it from behind her ear and drew a tiny wave on my wrist. It'll wash off, she said, but still. Then she handed me her phone. Put your number in. I looked at her. Why? In case I want to invite you to a mysterious night adventure and don't want to do it through smoke signals. I typed in my number, saved it under Anastasia, the one who runs from storms. She smirked when she read it. Fitting! Something tilted, like the world had leaned a little to one side and dared us not to notice. Like if I reached an inch further, she'd stop me. Or maybe she wouldn't. The space between us was suddenly loud, not with words. Just the kind of quiet where everything feels possible and dangerous at the same time. I didn't know what she was thinking. I only knew I didn't want to move because the second I did, something would break, and I wasn't ready to see which one of us it would be. 2 days later, my grandmother asked me where I disappeared to at night. Nowhere, I said, and it wasn't even a lie. Because when I was with Kat, I was nowhere and everywhere all at once. Kat texted me a single word. Tonight. No explanation, no location. I didn't need one. I found her where I always did when the air felt too heavy to breathe. By the water, at the edge of the old quarry past the woods. She was sitting on the hood of someone's abandoned truck, hood up like a crown, cigarette between her fingers but not lit. She didn't smoke anymore. Said she liked the ritual, not the result. You came, she said. I always do. Kat looked at me like she was trying to memorize something. My face, my shape in the dark. Maybe the fact that I hadn't turned around and walked away. She hopped down, landed with a soft thud, and held up a flashlight. Come on, it's warm enough. For what? To jump. I blinked. From the cliffs? No, from existential stability. Yes, the cliffs. I hesitated. She raised an eyebrow. Scared? Obviously. Kat grinned. Good. Means it's worth it. She climbed first, barefoot, like she didn't care what the world was made of. I followed slower, pretending I wasn't already breathless just being near her. At the top, the quarry spread out below us like a dark mirror, still, quiet, deep. I used to come here after training, she said, sitting on the ledge, legs dangling like this was nothing. When I couldn't deal, when everything felt like a performance. I sat beside her. This was the only place that didn't ask me to be anything. Except insane, I muttered. This drop's at least 40 feet. Kat turned toward me. You know what happens if we don't jump? I waited. We stay exactly the same. She stood, stripped off her shirt, her shorts, sports bra, everything except underwear. Then she looked at me, like it was the most normal thing in the world. I'm not going first, she said. It's your story, too. I swallowed. I took off my clothes, not because I wanted her to see me, but because for once, I didn't care if she did. We stood at the edge. 3, she said. 2, I said. 1, we said together. We jumped. The fall wasn't graceful. This wasn't a movie. It was cold and hard and shocking. The water hit like truth, fast and unforgiving. I surfaced, gasping, blinking hair out of my eyes. Kat was laughing, not in that flirty, mysterious way, like actually laughing, loud and wild and free. You didn't scream, she said. I forgot how. We floated for a while, just us, just the dark, just the kind of silence that didn't ask for anything back. Kat swam closer. This is the part, she said, where I kiss you. I looked at her. You always narrate your moves? Only when I want them to matter. She leaned in, and it wasn't a firework or a storm or whatever stupid thing love songs talk about. It was just this, her mouth on mine, soft and careful, like we both knew how easy it would be to ruin everything. And it was good, not perfect, not cinematic, just good in the way that feels like the first real breath after holding it for too long. We stayed in the water until our fingers wrinkled, climbed out, wrapped in a stolen towel from the back of her car. She drove me back with the windows down, music low, no one saying what came next. The next morning, she was gone. No text, no knock, just absence. The lifeguard stand was empty. The dock was empty. The air felt heavy. I knocked on the door of the little apartment above the bait shop where she crashed sometimes. Nothing. I went home. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I waited. I hated how good I was at it. She came back 4 days later, hair wet, hoodie too big, like nothing had happened. I found her outside the cafe where I pretended to study. You left, I said. I needed to think. You could have said something. She rubbed the back of her neck. I didn't know how. That's convenient. I'm not convenient. I noticed. She sighed. I got into a training program in Seattle. Late start, they had an opening. I nodded. When? Tomorrow. Of course. We stood there for a full minute, not moving. Then I said, So that's it? She looked up. No. I waited. That night, it wasn't nothing. You weren't nothing. I'm just not the kind of person who knows how to stay. Maybe I'm not the kind of person who needs you to. She stepped forward, took my hand, pressed something into my palm, a key, tiny, rusted. To the dock box, she said. There's something in there for you. Kat, I don't do goodbyes. Clearly. She kissed me once, fast, like a comma. Then she walked away. At sunset, I went to the dock, unlocked the box. Inside, a worn notebook, her sketches, scribbled thoughts, receipts she'd written poems on, a photo of the ocean taped to the inside cover, her name in the corner, my name on the back, one note on the first page. You don't need saving. You just needed someone who didn't ask you to smile. Kat left. I stayed. Summer ended like a song you don't realize you love until it's over. But I kept the key. And every time I walk the beach, I know she was real, even if she was never mine to keep.